Hello there everyone, welcome back. It's time for another Ascension Guidance reading, this time for the next 6 weeks, starting on May 1st, going into the summer solstice or the winter solstice, depending on where you are. I try my best to be inclusive for all sides of the world so that everyone is able to get the most out of these readings. And as with anything, we may feel these timelines simultaneously, so even if I was only speaking of the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere would be able to feel that, and similarly we over here on the northern hemisphere would be able to feel the southern hemisphere, because again, all is one. The earth has an energy field, and time cycles are much more liminal rather than being linear, so time is really fluid and malleable in that way. And that's the beautiful thing about the multidimensional experience. As said, this starts on May 1st, which is when we celebrate a pagan holiday called Beltane. In the southern hemisphere, you all are celebrating Samhain. Like, there are also other like alternatives here as well. So for Beltane, people may also celebrate May Day. For Samhain, people might also celebrate Halloween. There are those more modern celebrations that are based on the sort of Christian holidays. So they are Christianized holidays. Let's remember that, because the pagan holidays were here first. So we want to honor that, obviously, while also remembering that there are indeed a lot of people who have chosen the Christian or the Christed path, and there is room for everyone, and one or the other shouldn't be eradicated or erased completely for the favor of the other. So let's keep that in mind. For the symbolism of these two, these are actually, they do still have some things in common. So, for example, the thinning of the veil. So, when we speak about thinning of the veil, what that tends to mean and speak about has to do with the energies between the worlds being not so sort of walled up, or they are not so strictly separate. So it's almost like let's say the physicalized world starts to blend in a little bit more with the non-physicalized or the spirit world a little bit more. And the same way, the spirit world starts to blend in a little bit more and sort of leak in, and radiate more of its essence into the physicalized, materialized world. We have a much higher chance and an easier time of sensing different spirits. And the only difference between, really, in regards to this, for Beltane and Samhain, is that since Beltane celebrates the spring, it tends to be a lot more associated with nature, spirits, and elementals. And by the way, if you didn't yet see my last live stream, one of the last 2 live streams, okay, because at the time of this going up for the public, I have already done my other live stream. So the one where I announced a secret, I revealed a secret, you will want to watch that one. Though those themes, of course, may repeat in this, but I did pull a couple of cards, and it was really interesting about the elementals. So what I shared there is relevant for this video as well. But then for this Samhain, so Halloween and Samhain, the thing there with the sensory of the spirit has to do with like past loved ones and ancestors and beings that were once in human form and then left the earth, basically. So that's kind of the difference there. But then there is also another common theme of endings and beginnings. So Since Beltane, it is in the middle of the spring, but it also marks the start of going into summer. And it also marks the time of ending of the darkness. So at this point there is a whole lot more light coming in, and a lot of that light is staying, so it's very consistent. And for Samhain, on the other hand, this is the end of the harvest season, so this is the last harvest festival of the autumn, and it is the beginning of the winter season. So then the sort of darkness starts to really peak, and we start to become a lot more introspective. And both of these are also related to cycles of life, but they're very different parts of life. So Beltane is, because it's associated with sexuality and fertility, it has a lot more sense of, first of all, of course, maturity. So for Beltane, the symbolism is a lot more about, again, that maturity, but it's also about having the ability to give birth or create a fetus, essentially. So it's like sort of like, oh my god, this is gonna sound awful, but for a lack of a better word, like a breeding season. And it is about flourishing of life. So then there is like a lot of this very sort of high energy going on with that, and it's a growing season as well. So it's also about the cycle of growth as well there. And for Samhain, on the other hand, it's the cycle of death. So a lot of things start to end, transform, and be removed from our lives. And of course, with the end of the harvest season, we would have like a nice stock up here. So we will have things, of course, to let go of. So we will not be, staying empty. But this also does mark because it is also the beginning of winter, and it is also considered the witch's new year. So then we are indeed asking and manifesting new things as well. So those things are not being released and removed for nothing, but there will be something new coming to their place. So that's kind of the wrap up of these two, the most important things about these two holidays and about the nature of these next 6 weeks that we are entering in. And it is really fascinating to kind of see these two themes simultaneously. And I'll probably put up a short video fairly soon of one of my favorite releasing rituals. So I actually had scheduled it like way ahead, but now I realize I will have to post it earlier because it would make more sense and it would be of better service if I posted it earlier. So that's just my favorite burning release ritual. So I'll make sure it will be popping up into our shorts feed fairly soon. Now I think we are finally ready to get into the reading. So again, I am using the Star Guides Reminders. It's a deck that I created, and again, I didn't use any AI. And here is the box. There are some light codes in there. And so what I will do is I will shuffle off camera and I will make a few piles, as many as I feel called to create for you, and then we'll be back with the readings. Alright, so we are going to start with a general reading for everyone, and then we will do 3 piles. We'll do the bottom. Alright, so for the bottom of the deck, oneness, multidimensionality, and the higher self, which has to do with our oneness with the entirety of the universe and everything. So our general message for everyone who's watching has to do with aligning consciously with, again, this very diverse, multidimensional awareness of our oneness, and coming into unity with all of everything, and becoming more and more attuned to what our higher selves have planned for us. And the key here is to understand where the sort of matrix conditioning can easily feed into polarization and division. So we might be experiencing a sense of dividing agendas, dividing frequencies that may have maybe tried to pull us into their sort of entanglements, into their little schemes. I don't know, again, the wording here is, again, words are limited constructs of ideas. So this is an energy transmission as well, by the way, so you will be able to feel it for sure if you are sensitive and if you are receptive. So there can be these polarizing agendas, polarizing frequencies, polarizing energies that are sort of floating in the matrix, and it's going to be really important for us to decondition from that and to find unity, to find oneness, and attune to that oneness, that very oneness and that very unity. And it is important for us to do this conscious alignment with our soul and with our multidimensional self and with our higher self, because this is the key, this is the doorway to receiving this full awareness of that unity consciousness and that full awareness of that oneness, and attuning us into those higher frequencies, attuning us to that which is the overarching energy, the eternal energy at all times, that which most of the time does not change, okay? This is one thing that, first of all, it's interesting, it's about spirit, and usually we think of spirit as something which, for sure, yes, it is fluid, but the thing about the highest, point of consciousness, that which everything sparks from, the infinite spark of all creation, there is something, that doesn't change about it. There is something about it which remains always, which sort of remains the same. But the way it remains the same is never stagnant. And that is when it's in its pure essence, in its most purest essence, and only then is it staying the same. Because there's a reason that we as humans are all so different, and it is because this essence of oneness, this essence of all things, that which everything sparks from, that has wanted to experience these diverse experiences and this diversity, all of this, all of us being different, all of us being unique. It has wanted to come to this realm where we could explore as many possibilities, as many potentials as possible. And it is time for us to attune ourselves and our frequency into that which is receptive to unity consciousness, that which is receptive to our unique part in this game of consciousness, so to speak, in this reality, in this multidimensional reality that is in this playground of pure love, in this playground of pure love and light. And it's a playground of in a fun way, not in a manipulative way, of course. It's a fun playing ground for all of these new experiences that we can have in this lifetime. So we're going to, over the next 6 weeks, we are going to spend some time deconditioning. This could very well be how the Samhain symbolism is showing up. We're letting go of all of the conditioning and all of the polarization and division, and instead we are attuning into what perhaps our higher selves and our multidimensional selves and our souls are really desiring to explore and experiment during the next 6 weeks. And that whole thing is going to be our gateway to understanding what unity consciousness and oneness with all that is really is. And this is going to happen through conscious effort. Even conscious attunement, we can consciously attune ourselves to different things or receive attunements from others perhaps. And that can really help us sort of activate ourselves and come back to who we really are. So that is the message to everyone. That is the first general overall message, and I will now shuffle the cards and create your piles which you can pick from, and of course you can always watch all of the readings if you should so choose. However, because these are energy transmissions, I recommend maybe taking a little break between them, like maybe watch one of them today and then another one some other day. That would be a great way to do that. And maybe do this throughout this next 6 weeks, because then you can get perhaps different attunement, a different transmission for a different time. Because sometimes what can also happen is that you sort of realize that lesson, or you kind of understand the message very quickly, and then you might want to receive another one, because why not? Right? If you're already figured that out, that activation has landed, you can receive another one and see where that goes. So that's just my recommendations before we get started with that. I will see you in a bit. Alright everyone, so here are the 3 piles for you to pick from. I got this fruit-shaped agates, colored agates, to help decide perhaps which pile you want to choose, or you can just go by intuition, perhaps which card you feel pulled to, but these are also for aesthetic purposes, everything. So they are all colored agates. Here we have a peach shape one, and pineapple shape one. Then we have this strawberry shape one. So you can pick from any of those, and I will be right back with pile number 1. So those of you who picked pile number 1 with the peach, let's get into your reading. What is in your bottom of the deck is the light. Okay, so there's first of all, there's a very light focused message for you. What this shows to us is that there's a lot of light coming into your field, and you're definitely probably tuning more into the Beltane frequencies and the festival of fire, festival of light. And you're definitely for the next 6 weeks, for those of you who picked this pile, who picked the peach, you are coming into much more conscious alignment with the starlight, with the galactic light that is within your soul's consciousness, within your soul essence, and you are starting to very consciously tune into that, and a lot of that is being revealed to you. I sense that a lot of it is being revealed to you over this next 6 weeks. And your web of consciousness is expanding. So there's this great expansion going on in your energy fields, and a lot of that light is going to now take place there. So perhaps if in the past or in the recent past, recent times, you felt like the sense of density that is being lifted, that is clearly being lifted and cleared and released and removed. And instead, this galactic consciousness is taking place. So you may especially feel a strong connection to your star family, to galactic beings, to different star beings and ETs, and even certain elementals who are connected to these origins. So, for example, Orion and Sirius, especially Orion, I feel like we are going to be in much better contact with the Mer people from Orion, especially during June, because that is when the Western astrology supports it. So in the Western astrology, Orion is associated with the degrees, certain astrological degrees in Gemini, and also Pleiades. So Pleiades are sort of at the cusp of Taurus and Gemini. So it's like the last degree of Taurus and the first degree of Gemini. So that's where Pleiadians can be most observed for when it comes to Western astrology. Again, we can connect these beings at any times, but it seems that is also a timely connection here. And I also have a lot of information about this on my Starseed Origins course. So for each of the 12 starseed beings that I channeled for that course, I also put the astrological degrees in the handouts, of course, apart from the ones that don't really have that. So that would be some beings like the Blue Avians or the Esasani beings, because they're very quantum and they don't really have necessarily like an origin place in the universe. So they just come, I suppose, from the infinite spark of all creation. And it is important here for you to practice non-judgment. Okay, so non-judgment is coming as a theme here, because perhaps I get this sense that you are a lot more further ahead than you think you are, and you may be judging yourself for, for the way you have been or what has happened in the past, right? There's a sense of something that almost feels like it's lingering in your energy field, and perhaps you're judging it. It's something that should be, released. And in other ways that this non-judgment is coming to light is because, of course, with the light there is also shadow. So I suppose this could also, speak about some, shadow work material where the judgment can also kind of be the shadow that you are clearing now, and you are becoming much more better again at practicing non-judgment, and a lot more clear in that way, and taking extra care again of that web of consciousness, of just being aware where energy is going and what's coming to your energy field and what kind of energetic links you may have with others, making sure that those links are sort of pure and crystal clear, and again, like making sure that you're not becoming chronically judgmental. I feel like that's just the message that's coming through, because sometimes when we elevate our frequency, we may have a bit of a shadow theme of our ego, sort of. Our ego may suddenly become a bit louder, and this is a temporary process that we're going to have to be observing, and then we'll have to understand that the reason why we might be judging these things is because, again, we think that we sort of now suddenly know everything, when there's always something more for us to learn. So we could be, again, like believing that we know more than we actually do. Or we might be believing that there's nothing more for us to learn. And this is especially important for when it comes to those galactic connections, okay? Because it's going to be important for us to not judge what we see when we communicate with these different beings. And instead, just allowing for us to see. You know, the light also, it shows us, it brings us to our vision. It allows us to see more, which is a beautiful thing, really. When we are able to see more, and with that, it's going to be important to, you know, not judge what you see, but more so focus on what you feel and what you know on a conscious soul alignment level. So, and I do sense that a lot of these beings that you are going to be interacting with do come from the light, from the pure light, and from pure love light frequencies. So I don't sense that there would be any sort of negative or harmful or malevolent beings coming into our field. So it's going to also be important to trust your instincts and trust yourself in this process of coming more aligned to your galactic family and your own soul as well. And again, your soul most of the time is the most pure piece of who you really are. And of course, it is possible for our souls to experience many different things. So it's important to also not judge those experiences. So if you have perhaps had a past life experience in another galaxy that was like a wartime, maybe it's one of those Orion Lyra wars or something else even, it would be important to like not judge that, but to just understand that that was a choice that your soul made to experience that lifetime, and there was some level of expansion and exploration there for your soul to go through, and to really integrate that lesson, and to understand where perhaps that lesson can now be cleared, it can be released, and you can allow more light into your vessel so that you can now create something different. You can create a different and a new experience. And this way, you're also clearing the web of consciousness, your own web of consciousness, from anything that could be perhaps blocking new things from coming into your existence. But you can also then start to emit this much more harmonious frequencies into all of the spiritual connections that you have, and just all around you, really. So it's going to be a really beautiful result, and I do trust that this is going to be a beautiful next 6 weeks for you. And with that, I will wrap up your reading. Thank you for listening, and feel free to watch the other ones as well if you should so choose. And remember that you can support this channel on Ko-fi, so ko-fi.com/inspiringalien. That is where you can support me and even see some more videos. And of course, this deck that I used is Star Guides Reminders. I created this. You can also purchase this from the links below. Thank you very much for your presence, and if you're new on the channel, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Stay inspiring. If you picked the pineapple, you picked pile number 2, and this is your reading. So, first of all, bottom of the deck, enter the new paradigm. Then we got this. Higher self equals you. Authenticity. And energy. Ooh, well, this is quite wonderful. So we are again continuing on the theme of the higher self here for you, pile number 2. Like that seems to be running across a lot of these messages today. And for you, this is about the peace in being who you are. the peace in being authentic, and the peace that comes from understanding that you are one with your higher self. And this is going to allow you to enter into the new paradigm. So a new way of creating your reality, a new way of being in the world, and a new way of expressing yourself. Because to be truly authentic is what allows us to really truly have a peaceful existence. By the time this video is up, you should already be able to see my live video all about the energy dynamics in social situations, social interactions. Because in that video, I go into how much peace and harmony it does create when we are able to be who we really are, because that is one of the key functions of the pure unconditional love light. Because that means we are not coming from our conditioning. That means we are coming from our truest essence and our pure energy. And the energy bit is giving me an interesting message here, this energy card. It is more so linking to this new paradigm that you are creating. So you're going to be able to feel this sort of a very new energy to you. This sort of feels like this is going to be a new energy for you to really feel in your experience. And this is coming partially because you are really being more and more tuned into your higher self, and you are expressing yourself in a much more authentic way. So you're becoming a lot more liberated, and those of you that are watching this, for the next 6 weeks, you might even experience like a spike in your energy level. So like having a whole lot more energy at your disposal. And what it allows you to do is to do this ambitious and a lot more expansive things that you have done maybe in a while. And it's going to feel like a new reality, a completely new, almost a new life for you. And this is because you are also expressing who you really are. So perhaps until now you haven't necessarily been expressing yourselves as much authentically as you have in the maybe you haven't expressed yourself to the amount of authenticity that you could have been. Maybe you have been holding back. Maybe you have been kind of trying to blend into the matrix, or perhaps living in one foot in one world and one foot in the other. And now all of those masks come off. So ironically, even though there's masquerades associated to both of these holidays, you are taking those masks off because it's a lot more authentic to you. And there, the inner peace that really comes from, again, being authentic and leading your own life and being connected with your higher selves, being one with your higher self, it's a sense of peace that I believe many people haven't been able to feel until they come to this realm of spirituality, and until they really discover who they really are. Because a lot of the times as humans, in order to connect with others, we might start to rather want to blend with them, or we may believe that a certain way of relating to other people is the way to connect with them. And for you, it seems like because you are pulling all of those plugs off, you're pulling all of those hooks off that were once draining you and taking your attention, you're now allowing a lot more energy to come back to you, because you're not spending so much time hiding who you are, or masking, or trying to please other people, or be this to that person and be that to the other, and then like forgetting who you really are. But you are now coming into much more oneness with who you are, and this coherence is the word that allows you to really see a new side of yourself. and allows you to really know what true peace really is. And it is important to allow yourself to do things in a new way. Okay, because the thing about the ego is that it sometimes likes to reinforce the old ways just because that's all it has really known. But it's time for you people, everyone who's watching pile number 2, to start reinforcing and, just sort of pushing these new ways in your own consciousness. And again, in your own consciousness, not on the others. Or just start to really hone in and rein in these new ways of being, this sort of new program for your spiritual computer. And allow yourself to really truly embrace who you really are. And it seems that this higher self connection is going to be one of those things that's going to really help with that. So perhaps you're going to really embody your higher self. Different aspects and levels and layers of your higher self are being embodied. And this then radiates out of you. It doesn't leave you, obviously, because it's a part of you. It is who you are. And it's one of those layers. But it radiates not just this peace and this contentment with yourself, but all of who you really are. This authentic frequency that you are here to bring. And it can feel like almost like a breath of fresh air to others and to you as well, of course, which then allows for others to also be much more authentic and to be who they really are. And you're going to start to see more and more authenticity around you, which again brings more peace, obviously, because then you don't need to worry about others hiding who they are or hiding their intentions or being, liars or stuff like that. You don't need to worry about that because you know that there is this resonance to authenticity and this resonance to who you really are. And it's going to show up in your energy and in the way you show up, in the way you do things, and the way just how things align. And it would be encouraged to, tune into the energies and the frequencies that really do most align to you. So don't try to tune into energies that really don't feel authentic to you. And maybe, avoid spending time in circles and spaces and, groups and whatever, where you really do not feel like you belong. And where you really do not feel like you can be who you are, because that can also sort of shrink our frequency. And what really does feel like it's coming for you here is a lot of growth, of course, as a result of this. Again, there's this piece of being you, and this piece of radiating that which is the most natural to you, and being one with all that you are, and even more. And it could almost feel like you are starting a new life, in essence. Some of you maybe are. It can really feel like you're starting a new life entirely, because perhaps the past has felt so much different. So with that, I wrap this up for you. Remember that you can also support this channel on coffee.com/inspiringalien, and you can get access to plenty of videos over there, as well as I may occasionally post some writings there for those that are supporting. So for example, for my upcoming book and other projects. And the stick that I used is called the Star Guides Reminders. It's this one, and I also created it without any AI, and you can also purchase that from the links below. If you're new and just stumbled upon my channel, please subscribe because it's amazing to have you here, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Stay inspiring. Hello, those of you who picked pile number 3 with the strawberry. On the bottom of the deck, you got Agape in action. Then you got Infinite Love Codes, Deconditioned from the Matrix, Divine Will once again, and Power. Alright, so some cards coming back once more, but that doesn't mean the message is going to remain the same. So, first things first. You are becoming divine love in action on planet Earth in form. The infinite love, its whole essence embodied in a human vessel. So during these next 6 weeks, for you it's going to be very important to take your power back, especially for when it comes to the matrix programming. So it could be that you may have had some infiltrations into your consciousness, or perhaps you have let some conditioning run the show, so to speak, instead of really, tuning in and feeling into what really needs to be healed and released. And so then, instead of speaking from divine light, you may have spoken more from the conditioning and from the shadow. And in those, in that sense, it's going to be time to really take your power back, and also taking this power back and reclaiming your sovereignty is also going to be important for when it comes to receiving the infinite love codes, receiving the divine, receiving the agape, the pure love light, pure unconditional love light, pure divine love light. It's going to be important in receiving that, because then you're not going to feel as if you are at the mercy of this higher power, but rather you are feeling like you are an active participant with it, like you are co-creating with the divine unconditional love light, and that you are sort of the part that acts upon this divine will. So then there's not going to be this sense that you are giving or surrendering all of your power to the divine will or divine, but it's rather understood that it's a co-creation, that because you are a part of it, you can also take action. You can also take that frequency out there and radiate its essence into everyone around you. And it is going to be very important again to decondition and purify from the matrix, because there can be a lot of disempowering stuff out there about certain things. And the thing about the power as well is, in the matrix programming, power often can be about this power over others paradigm, which isn't really, divine. That's not really how divine power works. Divine power recognizes that everyone is sovereign, that everyone is powerful, and therefore we don't need to take it away from others, and we also don't need to use our power over others. And we have to be able to recognize that really deep down, that's going to be a part of this deprogramming really here. And that is a part of, becoming fully sovereign within ourselves and in our lives. And I do find that with this connection to the divine, with this connection to this divine unconditional pure love light, this infinite love light, you're going to feel a renewed sense of power. So this your understanding of power is probably going to come into a different frequency. It's going to come into new realizations, and it's going to shift because now you've got the power. You got the power. So it's like because you're so tuned in to this infinite love light, and you're so tuned in to this divine love, divine unconditional love, agape, infinite love codes. That in itself is the real power. That in itself is extremely powerful. And when you are able to tune into that power, then you're going to recognize where maybe you have been conditioned by the matrix. You're going to be recognizing where you actually gave your power away, when you gave your shadow the upper hand, where you gave your ego the upper hand, when you listen to programming, when you listen to conditioning, rather than expressing the true essence of that divine unconditional love light. And in order to really understand how you can take that agape in action, you have to become it. You have to become divine unconditional love light, pure unconditional love. You're going to have to become it. That is the key here, because becoming it ultimately allows you to really take it and to really know what it's all about, and not getting twisted in all of these different matrix programmings and conditionings. And I feel like maybe for some of you this is also a realization of where maybe your sense of power was once distorted, and where you maybe were using your power in a way that wasn't sovereign, and that wasn't really aligned with the divine will, that wasn't really aligned with the highest good of all involved. So there's a realization of the highest good of all involved in regards to the divine will, because the divine will doesn't want beings on this planet to suffer as much as they do, and the divine will doesn't really want inequality or like power imbalances. Like that's not how the divine frequencies really work. The divine frequencies are equal, so and they are creating harmony and peace on earth. And that's not going to be happen if people have these power battles. That's not going to be happening if people believe that some people should be happier than others, or that some people don't deserve to express who they are. The divine will, the divine wants us all to be able to really thrive in this lifetime, and to really experience the best lifetime that we can have. So there's like no reason for the divine or any essence of love to really make people suffer. That is not the point. But it is a part of the divine will to also have a multitude of experiences. It wants to, the divine wants to experience all of these things, all of this variety of experiences that we can have in these realms. And that's because it is infinite. It is fully infinite energy. And it takes its power back in that when it realizes that, hey, there's just another experience. There's just a different experience, and other people and other parts, other sparks of source can have their own experience. It doesn't take anything away from you. It doesn't, other people's experiences don't take anything away from you. They are just their experiences. And that's also one way to remember your power. Look, others can have different experiences, and that is because the source is infinite, and it's seeking to have different experiences on purpose. And it seems to enjoy the game, or perhaps it just is the game itself. I'm not sure if Source Source is fully able to enjoy things, because it just is, like it just is. So the sort of experience of enjoyment is much more, you know, human, animal, perhaps even elemental, you know. It's for a very specific type of consciousness, but because the source is so vast, like sure, it can also be enjoyment, but most of the time it just is. And then it trickles down into this experience, to experience more varieties of things. So that's where I will wrap up this message. Thank you for watching, and remember that you can support this channel on coffee.com/inspiringalien. There already are some extra videos that you can go ahead and watch, and there is also, I also plan on posting some of my writing there, so some sneak peeks to my new books, for example, that I'm writing, and also this deck, Star Guides Reminders. You can also purchase this one, and the link will be down below. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Stay inspiring.